Behind the Shades.
We tend to deal with things, or when we don't have control, is to find control in usually what we eat and how we take care of ourselves. And that can be an extreme either way. Like for me, it was binge eating. So that was something that until I really started healing the traumas and things that happened and dealing with those things, the weight was almost subsequent after that. Of course, it still has like its addictions to sugars and things like that I've had to overcome with that, and still continue to do. So for me, I just have started at ground zero. I've lost everything in business, where my family was moved to like a trailer park in the middle of nowhere, couldn't afford anything. And the only way out was to restart over. And so I've built an entire business from like the ground up. Literally no cell phone, no resources. Well, I had a cell phone, but I didn't have like internet. I didn't have a laptop. So at the same time as kind of like the weight loss, I was doing a lot of other things to put us in a better situation at the same time, out of having to, on that side of it. The weight loss just got to a point really where I had to as well.
So is this a situation where you went up in weight and then you're looking to come back down? Or was it a situation where you had a little bit of weight, but then it was increasing until you realize, hey, something needs to stop?
It really went fast up in weight. So when I was in high school, that's kind of where it started. Actually, was my childhood. Like I would hoard food. I would do things like, we grew up really poor. And so there's this really lack mentality around food. If I got money, that's the only thing I wanted to spend it on. And then as I got up in high school, I got pregnant with my first son. And when I got pregnant with him, I really adopted the whole, like, you can eat whatever you want, you're pregnant. And that was my excuse, really, is when the binge eating took off. So I gained a ton of weight with him. And then afterwards, it just continued throughout. So it was, at my highest, I was around 265, but I'm only 5 foot tall. So it's not, it was very large for me to carry. And so for me, it just got to the point where I had to. In January of 2020, we went on a vacation, my husband and I, just for the weekend. I wouldn't call it a vacation, just a trip to Las Vegas. And when we went, after one day of walking on the strip, I couldn't walk anymore. Like, not like, oh, my feet hurt, my legs hurt. Like, my legs started locking up in my feet. And I was so mortified because I was like 29. Okay. So I'm sitting here like or maybe it was like 30. I just turned 30. So I was like, I'm only 30. And if I can't even like walk a full day on the strip, what's it going to look like by the time I'm 40 or 50, realistically? And I have 3 children. My whole family depends on me. And so, but more than anything, it just was like forced with reality. Like, my body is shutting me down. And if I want to do all these wonderful things I want to do in life, this is going to hold me back from that. And it's very evident. Whereas before, I would be like, oh, I don't care how I look. And honestly, looks don't get me there. Like, I used to be like, I wish I could fit in a size 8 or size 10 or whatever size that is. And you would look and you'd see other girls that they look great in anything they wear, and you'd kind of get jealous of that. But you'd be like, I feel like I look fine too. Looks aren't enough to get you to do the things that you need to do when you don't feel like doing it. That's not an in-depth enough reason to make it. So, and money's the same way, just so you guys know. It's like, if your only objective is to make money, it's always going to be a side hustle. It can't be anything more than that, because when you don't feel like doing it, money's just not enough to overcome the feeling of not wanting to do it. It just is. And it's the same thing with weight and looks. And so for me, at that moment when I was standing there, I just felt like life was passing me by, and it was just a very obvious, like, you have to do something about this or you're not going to live probably much longer. And I do come from a family with diabetes and overweight, and it's always been known, like the thing was always, oh, the women in our family, once they have kids, they just get big. Like that's what it is. Like, and then you don't lose it. It's just what it is. And so, I adopted that story. It's the story we tell ourselves. Like, obviously, genetically, like this is where I'm at. And I don't know, just on that strip, it was a split second decision that was like, I'm never doing this again. And in my hardest moments, I would flash back, and I still do sometimes, to just standing there, just that feeling of like, I never want to go back there again.
And I think sometimes that's what people forget, or maybe they ignore, is that as you climb in weight and in your build, your movements are different. You feel different. Going up a flight of stairs takes more out of you. Walking the Las Vegas Strip, and I've been to Las Vegas twice, takes more out of you. And you made a good point when you mentioned that looks isn't enough for the weight loss. It can get you to start the process. You may have an outfit and you're like, ooh, just last year I was able to fit in this, and this year I can't. It'll get you there. But if you're looking to sustain it, it's in the mind.
It's all in the mind.
Right.
Absolutely. And now the cool thing about clothes, and as you lose weight, is it is an awesome bonus, right? Like money is an awesome bonus. Like we were talking about, like I equate the two things that they want. Most people, how do I lose weight? How do I make money? Like those are the two things, but it's the same recipe for both things. And they're awesome bonuses when you take care of and add value back to yourself. So if you do it for that reason alone, it's not enough to sustain. But if you find the deeper reason, like I never want to feel like this again. And I know, like the feeling of I can't do something, or I'm at the mercy of my body that I have not taken care of. And don't get me wrong, like to this day, there are things, even though I've lost a ton of weight and I'm continuing this journey, I still have recourse for the many years of the binge eating. Teeth decay from lots of sugar and doing things like that. And also IBS, irritable bowel syndrome. So there are things that like I still have to manage, but they're a lot easier to manage because I'm feeding myself the right foods. And I don't mind the right foods, but it took some time to acquire the taste of enjoying those foods. Like before, it felt like a chore. And the one thing I've learned about the food, guys, is when you're on this journey, you don't realize it. You've been so manipulated with your food taste from these corporations that real food cannot compete with it.